Hi, thanks for tuning in to Just Watch It. Today I'm going to show you my latest mod, and what I've done is I've taken an Invicta 8926OB and I've created a homage to the Rolex Milsub. So last time I showed one of my mods, I didn't actually show any of the work that I'd done to create it. So this time I've filmed what I've done, so I'm going to play some of that. The dial is from Yoboki's, whatever, and the hands and the Milsub bezel insert come from Tiger Concept. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to prepare the case, and I wanted to remove the Invicta logo from the side. So I'll show you how I did that. Okay, here we are in the shed, and the first thing that I've done is to take the bezel off, which you can see is just here. So that just pulls off, and this is the ratchet wire, so don't lose that because you'll need that when you refit it. So what we'll do now is I'll just show you how to remove the crown from the movement. Okay, to remove the crown on the NH35, it's fairly straightforward. Just there's a little pin, and if you press down and then pull the stem out, pull the crown out, the stem will come out. I'll try and give you a close-up and try and show you exactly where it is. The light's not great in here. It's just there. Okay, so I've taken the crown out. What I'll do is I'll actually show that bit when I'm in somewhere with a bit better light, and I can do a better close-up and show you which part of the movement you actually need to press to release the crown. But there's the crown and stem, and then the way to get the movement out of these Invicta watches is literally all you got to do is pull that off like that. Pretty easy. And then just a case of make sure this doesn't get lost. Go on. There. It's winding. Date change. And yeah, hands are turning. So that can go safe now until the rest of the parts turn up, which is the dial from Yoboki's, and so I don't need this part at the moment, and I'll put this in this handy little watch part container that I bought. So I'll just put that in there until I'll need the movement. So the next thing to do now is to work on rubbing off the Invicta graving, and actually I've already started, so you can see. But all I'm doing is using a Dremel tool and just going across it like that. So there's plenty of instruction on YouTube how to do that though, and it comes off pretty good, pretty easy. So I'm going to carry on getting the rest of the logo off and see if I can get a. You can see that it's coming off. So I'll carry on getting the rest of that off, and then I'll polish it up. So I've been working on that, and I think I've got most of that Invicta engraving out now. There were a couple of parts that were quite deep, but I've got that out, and that can be ready for polishing it. And just one other thing that I did on this watch, because this is a Milsub, I took off the Cyclops. There you can see, there it is there. And the way that I did this was just looking at instruction on YouTube, and I just used this thing, just a little mini sort of lighter blowtorch, and literally it says, you probably will have seen, you just put it on there, put it direct, heat it up for, I don't know, couple of seconds, maybe 3-4 seconds, then it just pops and it just slides off. And then just to clean it up after that, just oops, little bit of poly watch on a bit of cloth just to clean it up and get any leftover glue off. So now this is ready for polishing, and the first thing that I'll do is I'll use some wet and dry, and I'll use different grades, and then I'll get it on the Dremel again, but with a polishing head on. Okay, these are the bits of wet and dry that I use. So I'll start with 320, then I'll go to 600, then 800, then 1000, 1500, and then 2000. So I'll do all that, and then once I've done that, then I'll put it on the Dremel with some of this stuff, which I think I've shown before, which is the Mother's magnesium and aluminium polish. So right, I'll get on and start polishing it up. So that's all the polishing done, and as you can see, I've got the Invicta logo, which is engraved in there. I've polished that out, and that looks pretty good. As I say, probably not to Rolex standards, but for me in my shed with a little mini rotary tool, I think that's pretty good. I can live with that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is put the bezel back on. So I've got, that's the top of it, and that's the little retaining wire, which actually is the ratchet for the it's not a retaining wire, sorry, it's the ratchet for the bezel. So I'm going to put those back on now, but it might be a bit difficult with the camera on. Okay, that's the bezel back on the watch. So that's about as much as I can do until the dial turns up. So I've already got the hands and I've got the Milsub bezel insert, but say next thing to do is to do the dial. So that's the next job. So this is the finished case. As you can see, the Invicta logo has completely come out the side, and in the video you saw I was giving it a high polish on the sides. Actually, what I thought was in the end that this is a Milsub, so it's a military specification, and the pictures, it's pretty hard to see usually when you see a picture of a Milsub, it's from the front, but I don't think actually the Milsubs were meant to have high polish on the side, so I went to work on it with some Scotch-Brite, and that's giving it a really nice satin finish. So the next stage now then is to fit the dial. Okay, so this is the dial that I've ordered from your bookies, or your bookies, I'm not too sure how you pronounce it. Came from Hong Kong. It took a little bit of time to get here to the UK, but yeah, now I've got it. I can start taking the old dial off the movement, taking the Invicta dial, hands and dial off, and then putting this dial on, and then having fun and games with the hands. So this is the dial and the hands that I'm going to take off. As you can see, I've set the hour and the minute hand to 12 o'clock, where it's just turned over to the new day. Really, it's not going to matter too much on this one because there's no date option on the new dial. But that's my OCD thing. I like to have things just so. It doesn't really matter so much about the second hand. The second hand, what position that's in when you take it off. So that's going to be the next thing now, is to take the dial off, take the hands off, and then take the dial off. Okay, to take the hands off, I'm going to use one of these little tools, just got from eBay, and I'm going to use this as well, which is just going to protect the dial in case I ever want to use it again. I probably won't, but I bought this thing now, so I'm going to use it. So all you do is you slide this under there like that, and then this thing, so you can see it there, just clips underneath the hands, and then you just pull it up. So let's give it a go. And just push it in, there you are, and they've come off pretty easy. So that's the hands off. Now I've got to get the dial off. Okay, to get the dial off, you just got to get your thumb, a little thing between you, and you can see I've already did this, and just work it round, and it comes off pretty easy. And I'll just put the movement back down there, rest it on that. So this model that I've got is the the 3 o'clock for 3 o'clock dials, so hopefully the pins should be in the same place. So yeah, you can see they're in the same place. The last mod I did, the only dial the dial that I wanted only came in 4 o'clock position, so I had to take the pins off and glue it on. So hopefully this will be a little bit easier. So all I'm going to do then is, you see, okay, so I've got to try and line this up and find which holes they go into. So I'm going to have a go at that. Okay, that's the new dial put on. Pretty easy to do. Just needed to get a little bit closer to it. As you can see, it's nice and flat now. Ooh, push that down a little bit. So that's new dial. That's the old dial, and that can be put to one side. So the next thing to do now is the fun part, which is putting the hands on. So I think I'll just compose myself ready to do battle with the hands. Okay, so this is the equipment I'm going to use to fit the hands. These are the hands that I'm going to be doing. These are the Milsub hands. So I'm going to be fitting those, and obviously hour, minute and second hand. I'm going to be doing it one of 2 ways, whichever is going to be the easiest. One of these plunger things which get off eBay, yeah, they're not too bad for getting the hour hands on and the minute hands. And then I've also got a manual hand setter as well, which literally just works the same way, but you just push down. So that's the next stage. I'm going to have a go at that now. Okay, so what I need to do now is just make sure the hour hand is in the right position. So I'm just going to use a toothpick and move that along. And then probably what I'll do is I'll just have a quick check with my eyepiece, make sure it's in the right place. Then this will go under here, and I'll push down, and hopefully that hand will set in place okay. Okay, keep your fingers crossed. Okay, that's the hour hand on, and okay, now we'll go with the minute hand. So same kind of thing. I'll put it on, press down with a plunger, and fingers crossed. Okay, so now I've got the hour and the minute hand on, and they're turning freely, they're not hitting each other. And they're parallel to the dial. That's the main thing. You don't want them rubbing or pointing up or down. So the next thing now is to put on the second hand, and I'm not looking forward to this. It's hard to do. It takes a lot of time and effort. So I think I am going to go and have a walk around the garden and compose myself before I have a go at that one. But so far, fingers crossed, it all seems to be going relatively smoothly. Famous last words. Okay, well, I had a few issues yesterday setting the hands, and it was quite challenging. But I actually came across a channel called DIY Watch Club. It's only a small channel. It's only got about 150 subscribers, but really detailed instruction on how to install hands and the best techniques you can do. And luckily it was for an NH35 movement. So that guy, you've saved my life. Thanks very much. So today was a new day. and I've managed to put them in lot I'm happy with. So take that out, and so you can see now if I push the crown in, sweeping nicely, they're all parallel with the dial, and they're all nicely spaced as well, so they're not going to rub on each other. So yeah, that guy, DI Watch Club, definitely recommend having a look at his channel, really good. So okay, the next stage then is what I'm going to do now is assemble this into the case. But before I do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a good old clean using one of these puffer things and some of this stuff, Bergion stuff, a bit like blue tack kind of thing, just to pick up any little specks, and I'll do that in the case as well. So yeah, I'll do that now. Okay, so I've given the case and dial clean as best I can, taking the crown out, so obviously I can't put the case on while that's on. So now what I'm going to do is put the case over the dial. I might have to turn the camera off because I've got to get this right. Let's see how I go. Just got to make sure that that 3 o'clock lines up with there. Okay, that's not too bad. Need a little bit of fine tuning now. Okay, that's the movement put back into the case. All seems to be working okay. I've not tightened the back up yet, I'll do that later. That's just sort of finger tight at the moment. But yeah, all seems to be working okay. So now I'm going to put the bezel on. And the way that these Invicta watches work is you've got this wire here, which goes into that little hole there. Yes, it does. Like that. And then the bezel clamps on top of that. So this is what makes the bezel click, that little thing going on with those teeth there. So that's going to go on, that will go in there like that, and once I've done that, the spring will just be put in this little groove there, and it's the spring that holds this part to the watch. So let's have a go at that. So I've found the best way to do this is not like that. I hold that in a little bit, then get your bezel and just click it into one of the teeth there, and then just turn it round and it clicks. So now you see it's clicking, but it's now got to be kept onto the actual case, so it won't hold on. So the spring gets fed down this little groove here. Let me see if I can point to it. Down this little groove here, and that just gets wrapped all the way round. So that'll be the next stage, and I probably will have to do that off camera because I'll probably have to get that real close up. Okay, so that's the bezel firmly attached now. So the last thing to do is to attach the bezel insert, and this one, it already comes with a bit of double-sided sticky tape, so it's just a case of peeling that off and then lining it up exact. So I'll give you an idea of what it will look like, but it needs to be get exact. So again, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do it off camera so I can get really close up to it. Okay, that's it. That's the last job. That's the bezel insert done. Okay, so this is my finished Milsub. Really happy with the way it's come out. And say, just to recap, the dial came from your Bockies, the hands and the bezel insert came from Tiger Concept, and the guy that saved my life on this was DIY Watch Club. Just showing how to, a couple of tricks on how to fit the hands. So yeah, really pleased with the way it's come out. Hope you like it. Well, I hope you found that interesting and useful. I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. So on to the next mod.